Welcome to Manufacturing Talks with Jim Vinosky. Industry has a million cool stories, and Jim talks to the movers and shakers who are making them happen. Let's dive in.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Manufacturing Talks. I'm Jim Vinosky, your host. I'm really glad to be joined today by Moreno. He's Senior Vice President of Industrial Automation for Schneider Electric, a very big job these days, and welcome, Andre.
Thank you, Jim. Welcome. Hello to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
It's great to have you here. I think we've got a lot to dive into, so I'm really looking forward to the discussion. I know Schneider's right there in the forefront of a whole bunch of things in the manufacturing world.
Yeah, indeed. We are super excited. We are seeing this industrial manufacturing renaissance in the country. It's a country where we operate for more than 135 years, innovating, from electrical distribution and to industrial automation. So it's an exciting moment for all of us, and it will be great to have this conversation today.
Absolutely, yeah. It's such a proud history that you guys have. Before we dive into it, why don't you just tell our audience a little bit about yourself and how you got doing what you're doing today?
Sure. I've been in this, let's say, industrial automation and building automation field for more than 25 years. So I really enjoy, this space. I'm passionate about industrial technology, and I've been with Schneider for more than 15 years. I joined the group back in Brazil, my home country, and then I'm just here in the US for about 8 years now, contributing with Schneider Electric and just learning more, also day by day, how to contribute with this industrial automation space. So yeah, that's about me.
Excellent. Well, and obviously Schneider's got lots going on in the US, but lots going on all across the world. So
yeah,
we'll dive into that. What if you think about the industrial automation world today and where Schneider is, what are kind of the big focus areas that you guys are getting into with manufacturers today to help us along in the very competitive world that we're dealing with?
Yeah. Well, like you said, we definitely have a long history and operations across the globe. Just a lot of curiosity, 187 years for the group. So we went through many cycles in the industrial manufacturing side, and I think there's common topics for sure across the globe. One being power generation and cost of energy, right?
Yep.
Some topics around sustainability as well that they're common regardless where you go. But also there's some specifics to the US, given the context of industrial renaissance and how much of manufacturing is being created, with the new administration pushing more and more for reindustrialization of the US. Right. So definitely that brings a separate context and a bigger push there, right? And I believe, the common topics here, and then being specific in the country, is about labor and skill set,
Sure.
How you get skilled and enough labor to go through this wave of investments. That's definitely one. I think there's the never-ending conversation these days about, do we have enough power to power data centers and the booming data centers, and also in the industrial sector, right? Because it's a competition for energy, and energy security goes together with this conversation, which is also a big topic in the US. But I think we cannot forget water infrastructure and cybersecurity and others, right? And this will be super important to make us competitive as a country, and be able then, to have a vibrant industrial sector. So, long answer here, but I think these are the elements that we see.
Well, and it's a long answer for a reason. You guys are obviously in a lot of those kind of most important facets of industrial automation and taking us to the next level to be more competitive. I should mention too, for people who aren't aware, you're not just a supplier to others. You have a lighthouse plant, for example, one of the most automated plants in the world, and so kind of know what you're talking about when it comes to what manufacturers need to look at from an automation standpoint to
Yeah.
increase their productivity, their efficiency, their effectiveness. From that lens, and let's start with that reindustrialization uh, effort for America. What should manufacturers be focused on?
Yeah. So you rightly said, we are super proud, and we say in Schneider we drink our own champagne, which is we apply our technology in our own factories. We operate more than 200 factories across the globe, and we have more than 40 between distribution centers, manufacturing sites here in the US, right? So it is a big industrial footprint. So like we get these technologies, and one of the lighthouse factories is here in Lexington, Kentucky. So what we see normally is a look for how to get more productive, how to get more efficient, right? Reduce cost of energy. But in order to do that, not only technology is needed, but also people. So these are important elements that we are seeing coming together. And I think, when you do a proper job of understanding the needs and setting what's the problem you're trying to solve for with a proper planning, and then apply technology with a good partner and multiple partners, because we believe that this problem cannot solve by one company only, you end up achieving good results. And ours are like, in our own factors are here to prove that you can get like a 6-year-old manufacturing facility in Lexington and put at the level of being a lighthouse factory for the world. So it's not only building from scratch, I can do a good job. Actually, you could argue that retrofitting old factors is as important as building new factories, right? So
Right.
that's how we are working with this with the scenarios right now.
Yeah. And you touched on one critical point piece I know you guys are focused on, and that's open automation. So being more agnostic with what the solutions are. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I would start by saying open is not being connectable. The word is connectable like for many years, right? Many
Right.
solutions from different vendors, they will argue, oh, I'm open because I can connect to others. But open is about giving back the freedom to the customers so they decide what hardware they want to use,
Yep.
and they go for the software-centric automation where they develop the models, and then they can use these models and the programs and all the analytics in any hardware they want. And these hardwares, then they need to be interoperable, right? You care less about which vendor you're buying from,
Yep.
because you know that the thing will work. And that's the benefit of having an open automation and use open standards, right? This is not a Schneider Electric only per se. We have an organization called Universal Automation.org. They have many of our competitors there, end users, universities, all them, studying how software-defined and open automation will be the future of what we see in industrial manufacturing today. So this is a super relevant topic, not just for the vendors, but mainly for the customers.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, another piece I know you're involved in is you're not just about hardware. There's that whole software and business process end of things. I know you have, for example, augmented reality solutions out there. Talk a little bit about how much of focus for manufacturers should be around, not so much the machines on the shop floor, but the way we're doing work.
Yeah, we throughout the years and the cycles, we came from like mechanical being the dominant aspect now to electronics and now software, right?
Yep.
And software today is the main, is like the main focus of intelligence analytics, is where we can use AI. So pretty much everything today is already software centric, right? Most of the hardware today, they use a good amount of intelligence coming from the software. So sure, that's a big area of focus for us, being the embedded software that you have in the hardwares, just to make machines more intelligent, at the shop floor level. And then you get this information and you aggregate at the site and plant level, and then you get multiple sites and aggregate at the enterprise level. So we work in the 3 layers of information and the software, and it's a super relevant topic. And I think open automation also helps there. It's almost a fundamental pillar if you want to go in the journey of AI, right?
Yeah.
Because AI, I think it's now well understood that if you don't have data, and if you don't have data in an appropriate way, you cannot run AI models,
Right.
right? So imagine if you're locked with different vendors in a plant, how difficult it is now to aggregate data,
Mhm.
harmonize the data in a way that they can run AI models. It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
So in that sense, open automation and software-defined automation, like we say, is a fundamental pillar to be able to make the step change to run AI models and be way more productive. Okay.
Is it fair to say that most manufacturers have data accessible to them right now that they're not making full use of because of those challenges?
Yeah, we have many legacy systems. They have lots of data,
Mhm.
and it's hard to access. And when you can access, it's hard to harmonize data between 2 different or 3 different or many different systems that you have, right?
Right.
So you can put the right context on it, and then you can start to analyze it. There's such an amount of time that people are spending today just trying to understand the quality of data,
Mhm.
and it's a lot of waste that you could be using just analyzing it if you have a proper architecture. So that's definitely a big important topic to be addressed.
Yeah, and if you think about everything we've talked about so far, it's already getting a little bit bewildering if there's someone just out there on the manufacturing floor trying to figure out, "Geez, where are my biggest areas of opportunity?" All these different possibilities for automation, all these different possibilities for application of software and now AI tools. That starting with the data and making sure your data is clean and correct, and then making it actionable is really maybe a first step toward understanding where those opportunity areas lie, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's if not the most important, one of the most important for the future, right? If you want to future-proof your installation, make sure that you have a proper architecture for the data that you're collecting, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
understand how you're consolidating this, and I can't reinforce enough. Years from now, you don't want to be in a situation that you have a lot of data but all locked and trying to interconnect things. If you can have an open standard allowing you to do that, right? So that's super relevant.
Yeah. Now you guys obviously have a whole bunch of uh, product offerings. Do you also offer those services to help people understand where they stand today and where they should be headed to get the biggest bang for the buck?
Yeah, we do have kind of a consulting service that we call digital transformation. And the whole point on the digital transformation consulting is to build on the knowledge that we have in our own manufacturing sites that we learn throughout the years. And we have several of these lighthouse factories right now.
Mhm.
And we get these people, right, that they are specialists in manufacturing, lean manufacturing, technology, cybersecurity, maintenance, and planning in our own supply chain,
Yeah.
and we go to customer sites and we do a walkthrough and discuss with the customers what they are looking for. Are they trying to maximize throughput? They are concerned about quality. They want to save energy, or what's the different areas they want to explore, and then we create a map with them and
Yep.
try to address in a planned manner. If you try to address all variables at the same time, it's super hard. But if you map them out and you understand what are the priorities, and with that you create a proper planning, you will get great results, right?
Yep.
I think another element that I can bring here, Jim, is, and it is a curious statistic here. 70% of companies, they say they're still in the pilot purgatory, which is they try to go, in the world of smart manufacturing, do their digital transformation, but they get stuck in the pilot, right? And they
Right.
can't scale. And we had our own struggles like years ago. Then we learned why is that. and often it's because they go to the hardest problem that they can solve for, thinking that they will prove the point of the technology, right? But
Mhm.
sometimes and more often, you will see that the hardest is not the one that's replicable across the board, and is not the one that you're going to see everywhere, right? So one of the advices, try to solve that problem that you can replicate the solution in many, many areas.
Yeah.
And even if it's a small gain, multiply it by many, many times, it adds up, right? And then you go into this journey that you see results, and because you see results, you can go to the next level and continue the implementation.
Mhm.
Nothing wrong, technology can solve big problems today, but we see that some of our customers, they run multiple facilities, and they are not doing a proper planning to understand where they can scale the solution that can, in the short term, they can see significant gains. So that's super relevant as well.
Yeah, that's interesting, really approaching it from the start with that idea of making it a model that can be replicated again and again, and then building on that model to go after those other and potentially bigger opportunities.
Exactly.
Yep, interesting. Um, is it also fair to say that because of the level of automation, both from a factory floor and a work process standpoint, and just the complexities that we're reaching, that really most manufacturers are gonna need outside help to be effective at implementing the right solutions?
I think what's happening now is not only because of the amount of technology and the complexity, like you said,
Yep.
um, and the speed of evolution, right? Of uh, this new wave of AI and this new era. So it creates that anxiety somehow, that customers like how I can apply that technology, right?
Mhm.
How easy is to apply. And in that sense, we even launch a campaign called Smooth Automator, which is to say, hey, automation should not be difficult to understand and difficult to apply. So one of the topics that we try to address is how easy is for our customers to understand and apply technology. Because if it's too difficult, it's a barrier in itself, and it's
Yeah,
counterproductive for
right.
the for industrial environment. So that's a big concern. So that's a lot. It's a lot of what we do is trying to simplify the use of technology and demystify it, rather than say, wow, that's too difficult for you, you need us. No, you need us if we can add value, but not because it's complicated. So that's the
Ah,
first the
yep.
first piece. And why we can add value is because we have experience in our own factories and selling the solutions across the globe, right? So I think we can definitely add value, and other companies, they can also add value, right? And the third element that we cannot ignore is that we have a lot of knowledge getting retired.
Yes.
Correct. So how you cope with this more technology, fast pace, and a lot of people that are working in factories 30, 40 years, they are
Mhm.
retiring, and you need to get this knowledge and digitize somehow so you can train the young generation. So I think this is a special moment in time that we are living, that we need to address properly.
Yeah, well, so you're preaching to the choir on that front. I've, been kinda banging the drum about what I call the triple whammy is, you've got the baby boomers retiring, which shouldn't have been a surprise, but seems to have been for a lot of people. You've got them representing the last generation that really had the manufacturing and skilled trades jobs held out as a career positive for them,
Mhm.
and so therefore you also have this lack of skills coming in, and so
Yeah.
that last piece where the workforce coming in, it's not to denigrate them, but they didn't have the same background of shop class in high school or working on home projects, working on dad's car or things like that. Are there software solutions to help bridge that gap in the workforce?
Yeah, we definitely have, and that's a big area of focus. It's to digitize knowledge, put in a computer system, in a software that can train them new engineers, and also not only for training, but for reference, like maintenance purpose, just to be more agile, just to be able to create remote control centers where you don't need any more people skilled in each and every site. If you're running an enterprise, you can create a remote control center, put your experts there, and just operate from there because you have a knowledge base. Imagine if you go to, places, remote places like mining sites, right? It's very hard to attract young people to go and work in remote areas for different reasons, right? Also from safety concerns and others. So it's very good when you can create remote control centers and have your experts sitting far from the sites, just doing better diagnostics and analysis. So you have definitely a good amount of technology that can support that, and our customers are using every day nowadays. So it's not like something super new per se, but it's getting more traction and more people are paying attention to that dynamic.
Right.
Just to complement, because I know that I think we share the same concern as you said. There's a statistic as well that 85% of people interviewed by Deloitte in a recent study, right? Their smart manufacturing study. They interviewed almost 600 executives, and there was one point that caught my attention. 85% of them said technology will help them to attract more talents, right? To manufacturing sites.
Yep.
Because that's also play an important role. The use of new technology make it more exciting for the young generation that's learning, computer science, AI, coding, and they're coming from that world instead of going just for IT jobs. And nothing wrong with that, but we also need to attract them to industrial manufacturing if we want to get productive in this country. So I think technology plays a very important role here.
I love that point. And, to the extent I went negative with the new generation when it comes to those more mechanical end skills, they bring in this enormous power when it comes to, just gamers, right? Gamers have learned things about computers that you and I probably haven't even imagined. And then you think about schools don't have shop classes, but they probably have 3D printers. Most kids have had some experience with those kinds of things. So it is a piece of understanding where their interests lie and helping to fulfill those interests as part of their career path. And that is a very good point you make.
Yeah, it's a relevant one for us for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one piece I definitely want to jump into as well, because it's another element of my drum banging. You mentioned it earlier, is power generation. And I do think that I fault my industry peers for kind of being AWOL on the whole debate around what we need for reliable power, for affordable power, and for us to be able to compete in a globally competitive market. And I know Schneider's enormous when it comes to the whole power end of things. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think from let's say starting from a broad perspective, right? We have these two areas. One is how much you supply and how much you consume, right? The demand and supply. We often have this centered discussion on supply, which is where the energy is coming from. But a lot of people are ignoring that demand supply is how efficient I can get. So first, I would like to address that, and then we can go on the supply side as well, right?
Sure.
And I think being more efficient today is super relevant because we like it or not, power is coming to the grid not tomorrow. It will take years, to get new power generation plants in place to supply all the energy, the new energy that we need, right? Which is like a incredible amount of energy that we need for data centers, but not only. If we create all these new manufacturing sites that we have, and they all use electronics, they all more electric intensive than they were before, we're going to need a lot of energy. So the industrial manufacturing is also competing for energy with data centers. Right? So now, if you can reduce 30% of energy consumption in a year, why we are not moving much faster in that discussion, right? So we also need to address, not in the private sector, but also in policymakers, they need to address how US can get more efficient in what they consume. Because in doing that, you save energy, you save costs, we get more competitive, and that benefit, the energy that you don't use is the greenest one possible.
That's right.
So, right? So you meet all the important topics, right? So I think that's one perspective. And
Yep.
sure, then there's the power generation perspective, and
Well,
we
let me stop you there, because there's
yeah.
another piece I want to stress is we in manufacturing tend to get our blinders on and be focused on our own plants or our own network of manufacturing sites. But a piece of what you're talking about is also improving efficiency in distribution as well, and we've got to play a part in driving that.
Yeah. So the grid, I mean, the grid is already super stressed, right?
Hmm.
So managing properly and having a smart grid, as we call, which is to balance the energy consumption in peak hours using battery, and storage to compensate for that fluctuation. Being able to, in simple terms, say, facility A, please, can you kind of run 50% lower consumption right now because the grid is stressed. And when you have enough energy as well to spare, can you send it back to the grid so you help the overall situation? And that's valid for commercial buildings,
Hmm.
houses, industrial sites, right? So the grid can get way smarter than what it is today. We have a set of software and solutions for that. And if we don't do it, it will be a problem. I think the number one concern that we have is with the amount of electrification that we are seeing today, will the grid support all this, right?
Hmm.
And we see this across the U.S. and across the globe. That's not just a problem for us here in the U.S. This is a
For sure.
global issue. Okay,
Yep.
so definitely something that we need to pay attention.
Absolutely. Okay, so I stopped you. You were about to get into the generation end of things.
Yeah, no, and it's good that you said that because the distribution is in the middle, right? So if we have the consumption here, the grid here in the middle, and then we have the power generation
Yep.
here. And I touch more the power generation because there's often this question: do we have enough power to power everything that we know that we are going to need to power? No. So there is a big increase in power generation capacity
Right.
that's being addressed these days, and it's a super important discussion. And I think it's an important conversation. That's not just one type of energy that will meet the demand. It's all of the above, right? So we need green energy, we need, natural gas, we need nuclear. So all kinds of energy. A good mix is the answer for the supply and demand equation that we need to solve. And they bring short-term solutions, they bring mid-term solutions, and they bring long-term solutions. You can't just put a nuclear power plant in a year.
Right.
But right, but you have other mixes that you can bring in the short term. So I think a good combination of getting way faster on demand, manage the grid like you said, and being smart on the mix will get us where we need as a country. I'm super optimistic because I think there's many discussions around, a lot of smart people, very good companies trying to address the problem, and
Yep.
I think we'll come together, to a good conclusion. So we are super optimistic, and I think we are good position and well positioned as Schneider Electric because we can address the demand side, and we can also help on the power generation side and the distribution. So it's a
Yep.
full end-to-end approach to energy.
Yeah, which is a phenomenal place to be from a business perspective. You've obviously got strong growth potential in your future. But here's the challenge. And we've talked about other manufacturers struggling with automation, struggling with the workforce. How's Schneider's keeping up with the demand you guys have?
Yeah, we try for sure to apply those things that we mentioned during our conversation today, which
Yep.
is put technology where we can to optimize things. With that, we can get the skill set that we need to analyze things instead of doing repetitive jobs. right? That help us to close this gap of labor.
Yep.
Being super disciplined in digitizing knowledge. So when we have turnover, we can train new people coming, right? And definitely try to educate people, because if we don't do our job in educating people, going and having conversations with universities, opening labs, which, by the way, we opened a robotics lab in Raleigh, North Carolina recently, right? And we have a lot of, work with universities and people that are going to these labs and training more people. So we do that part of the equation as well. And that's, I think that's, it's not a per se a secret sauce that we have, but we do it with discipline. And I think in doing that with discipline, you solve the issue.
Well, it's one of the things I find um, very powerfully compelling about the Schneider story is you won't succeed as a company without having effective solutions of the kind that you're trying to sell to all the rest of us out in the manufacturing world.
Yeah. The concept is the risk of over investing is way less than under investing.
Yeah, good point.
Correct?
Yep.
People are getting super nervous about, should I do it? Should I not? And how much is too much? I mean, you don't want to fall behind. That will cost way more. Getting out of the market costs way more than over investing by 5%. So yes, we are always in the forefront of using our own technologies in our sites. Sometimes you calibrate, right? You try things, doesn't work, you go another angle, proper planning, refine.
Right.
And that's what we try to do.
Fascinating stuff. Is there something that we haven't hit on that folks should know that Schneider has going on?
Yeah, I think we have a good practice around cybersecurity.
Ah,
And
yep.
I think this is an important element, not because, and that's another thing that's often explored as this is dangerous stuff, right? Be careful, it's always addressed like in the news when you see a company that got attacked and you have a ransom to pay and etc. Now, we believe cyber is a pillar for innovation. There's an statistic as well that 65% of the companies, they are afraid of using new technology because they are afraid of connecting the data and connecting OT with IT. So using cyber as a built-in solution and not a bottom and not an afterthought is super important in your journey, right? There's many companies that can help you to address the topic, but make sure that you do it as not a cost center, but as an enabler of your innovation.
Mm-hmm.
And then you feel like empowered to do, right? Because you have good practices, you're training people, they are aware of what means being having a good cybersecurity posture, right?
Yep.
Which is the big portion of it. Then you have a bit of technology, and if you incorporate in your digital transformation journey, you check the box, right? You're going to get more efficient, you're going to reduce your cost to operate, you're going to manage the labor, and you're going to get protected. So it's super important to be part of the equation.
Yep.
And not, hey, I've done all this. Can you help me now to get cybersecurity? Yeah, you can, but it costs way more and it's not so good. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, excellent point. I mean, it all kind of comes together. Everything we've talked about is part of that grand solution that all manufacturers need to be thinking about.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, I think and I like to address this topic as well, which is the sustainability overall. A lot of people mix environmental with sustainability, right? Sustainability means you have a sustainable business, and you don't need to separate either I have a sustainable business or I have a profitable business. It's the opposite, correct?
Yep.
If you address it properly, like we said, when you reduce energy consumption, when you reduce water consumption, you get more sustainable.
Andre, I swear you've gone back and watched a bunch of my shows because you're again preaching to the choir here. Absolutely. I mean, sustainability should pay for itself.
Exactly. It's not like again, these are like, if you incorporate in your way of doing things, you will get surprised how profitable it is to be sustainable.
Yes. Yeah, that should be the measure, and then you're spot on. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's it. I think it was a great conversation.
It sure was, Andre. This was phenomenal. Thank you so much. And folks, look for a companion Forbes.com article about Schneider that I'll be working on as well. Yeah, thanks so much, Andre, that you brought some absolutely critical and informative points to us today.
Okay, I was super happy to be able to contribute with Manufacturing Talks, and I'm always here for next episodes.
Okay, good deal. We will be in touch. In the meantime, of course, thanks to all of you in the audience as well. You are why we're here. I think this one, if you're in manufacturing, this is a you can't miss this show. So I'll be touting it that way in the show description. I'll have links to the folks that Andre talked about, the Schneider areas of business that you need to know about. This will be a tough one to top, but you know what? We're here every Tuesday, so come next Tuesday. This time around, I don't know who we're going to have on next. It'll be tough to top Andre, but you know what? We're going to try. I can't promise we'll do it, but we're going to try to top it. It's going to be a great show next Tuesday. Tune in every Tuesday here at Manufacturing Talks. In the meantime, I'm Jim Vinosky signing off. So long and thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Manufacturing Talks with Jim Vinosky. Watch for new episodes dropping every Tuesday. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe.